The Seven Dwarfs and the Giant's House. The seven dwarfs were back from a trip.
How about building a house on top of a hill? It'll be a beautiful house with 7 rooms,
said Crafty, looking at his friends.
A house? That's a good idea. It'll be better if it was 3 stories high.
The dwarves got excited just thinking about living in a beautiful house.
That's the place. How about there?
Crafty pointed to a beautiful hill. While the dwarves were walking on the hill, a giant was digging the ground.
Hey, giant, what are you doing here?
The dwarf asked. The giant replied,
I'm going to build my house here.
A house? Then we should build one together,
said one of the dwarves.
That's right. If we put our strength together, we can build a real beautiful house,
added another dwarf. The giant suddenly got angry.
What? Build a house with you shrimps? No way! Go find someone else.
The giant didn't even look at the dwarves. And then the giant started digging dirt with a shovel big enough to hold all the dwarves. The dwarves were surprised and backed off.
The hill is big, so let's build a house over there. Yeah, that's right. If we put our strength together, it'll be no problem. Let's build a bigger and better house than the giant and put him to shame.
The dwarves put their heads together and began to make a plan.
Steady, since you're very skilled, why don't you lay the bricks?
Crafty, who is very clever, told Steady.
I'm strong, so I'll shovel the dirt.
As soon as Shovey said this, Crafty added,
Making doors is my specialty. I'm the most careful. You show off.
Each of the dwarves did the job they did best. The next morning, the dwarves first did the work they had to together, and then went off on each of their jobs. It was only after several of them sawed the large tree together that they could cut it. It wasn't until full noon that the giant lazily got back to work. With a saw as big as a house, the giant cut a tree, and when he gently pushed it with a finger, the tree fell with a thump. The dwarves were barely able to move the log by putting it on their shoulders and taking small steps one by one. The giant easily moved the trees by putting them on his shoulders. On the land that he had dug, he drove a stake into the ground, making a bam, bam noise. He made dumpling-shaped bricks from mud. The giant then broke branches and collected them. The giant stole a glance at the dwarves.
They've only got done with that. I'll come back in 2 days.
The dwarves worked hard on each of their jobs. Shovey worked hard digging dirt, while Swifty moved the dirt. On one side, Crafty was busy making bricks. He pressed the dirt on a wooden frame and made bricks. Minutely and Fasty cut a log in half and were making a door. The dwarves took a quick look at the giant's house.
The giant seems to be fast. It's only the beginning. Don't worry.
The dwarves supported each other as they worked. After 2 days, the giant lazily began to gather the dumpling-shaped bricks that he had made. But the bricks didn't stick together and kept falling apart.
Aw, what's wrong?
The giant took a look at the dwarves' bricks. The bricks were all straight and rectangular.
Aha! The shape has to be straight for the bricks to be laid.
The giant carelessly made the wooden brick frames and pressed mud into it. And then he put it upside down and pushed the brick out. In a moment, there were many bricks. The dwarves were finally done setting the pillars. Unlike the giant, the dwarves set the pillars close together. They also laid the well-dried bricks and carefully put a window on each room. The next day, the giant instantly laid the bricks. The giant was glad that he was able to carelessly build his house bigger than dwarves.
Oh, we could only raise it to 2 stories.
Housekeepy sighed as he saw the giant's house. The giant had laid the bricks all morning and was now covering the roof with the tree branches.
Ha 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 ha! I'm finally done building my house. Hey, you dwarves! Look at my house!
The giant, out of happiness, hit his house lightly. But what's this? At that moment, the house fell apart. The dwarves who were making the roof were all surprised, seeing the giant's house collapse. The dwarves went beside the crying giant.
See, the bricks aren't dry. And aren't the bricks all in different shapes and sizes? It falls apart easily this way. The window frames weren't straight, and so there were holes between the wall and the window frame.
What should I do now? I want a new house too.
The dwarves took pity on the giant.
Don't worry, our house has a huge storage room. It'll be big enough for the giant. But if you want to live with us, you'll have to help us.
All right. From now on, I'll do the digging and tree cutting. I think it's better to share work instead of trying to do it all by myself.
The giant and the dwarves lived happily together. What are the advantages of dividing up labor? Work can be done faster. A person can do a certain type of job better than the other because they only do one type of work. They can make products within a short period of time. By dividing up labor, there are more types of jobs.